gentlemen, welcome to Austin, a couple minutes past 1 p.m. Please stay seated with your seatbelts fastened.
This is the longest I have gone without flying since I got my private. 12 years ago.
Hi, Marcus Tower, Skyhawk 809991, midfield left downwind 35, request touch and go.
Skyhawk 991, right 35, clear touch and go, wind 02010.
Again, I'm not squaring off my base to final because I'm doing a power off approach.
500.
I've not done this in a very long time, so let's see how this goes. All right, 4 good landings. You're welcome to do some flying if you want.
Okay.
And then get across the interstate, and we'll follow the interstate to downtown. So your flight controls whenever you're ready.
Okay, fine.
All right, you got the controls. It is good to be circling my hometown again.
3046.
Good job, nailing that altitude.
Good afternoon, evening, whatever it is to you.
I'm Josh, a flight instructor and a filmmaker with a passion for the sky, sharing it with those around me and using it to see our world from a new perspective. Flying can seem super complex, and I've made it my mission to showcase safe practices while sharing the beauty we behold on these adventures. This is Aviation 101.
0991, Addison Ground, clear to Hotel Yankee India Airport via on departure flight, runway heading 66, radar vector 04.
Hello.
With everything that's going on in our lives these days, I'll be honest with you, I have not been flying at all. In fact, today is the first time that I'm gonna get myself in the air in 6 months. It's easily the longest period of time that I've stepped away from flying ever since I started flying in 2009. Of course, 991 has been kept warm and active by my dad down in Texas, where we keep the plane hangared. And I've just had so many other projects going on to keep myself occupied that I have not prioritized flying as much as I should have. The familiar phrase comes into play, life got in the way. And coincidentally, in this period of time, I got an email from one of my YouTube followers named Gerald that contained a rusty pilot's lament that he wrote himself. And reading it tugged at my heartstrings, mainly because it embodied my dad's rusty pilot story so vividly. And I'll read that here later in this video. This winter has been a lot of desk work right here, reorganizing, restructuring, and solving problems to streamline the production of aviation content right here for all of you. Chelsea and I also soft launched our other YouTube channel called Wrench and Roam to document our other non-aviation projects, starting with a total teardown and rebuild of the brick nose Ford pickup. So far, we have 3 videos out, and we're just letting the cameras roll while we turn wrenches and make this truck brand new again. We have lots of garage and road trip projects in mind for that channel, so if you're into that kind of stuff, we'd appreciate a subscribe over at Wrench and Roam on YouTube. Link for that is down in the description if you're interested. In this video, I'm gonna go back to basics and shake the rust off. Chelsea and I are down in Texas to visit my family and pick up the Skyhawk to take it to Kentucky for a bit. But first, I need to get current and proficient, 2 very different things. First time flying since September, and it is now late February. This is the longest I have gone without flying since I got my private. 12 years ago. Clear prop!
San Marcos Tower, ATIS information, Juliet. Time, wind 856 Zulu. Wind 010 at 11, gust 17, visibility 10. Ceiling 2,500, overcast. Temperature 03, dew point -04, altimeter 3051. RNAV GPS approaching use, landing and departing runway 35. Notice, Austin says no practice approaches. Advise on initial contact. ATIS information, Juliet.
CO detector test. Seat tracks and backs upright and locked. Flaps. Let's just cycle them down to 10 degrees and verify that they come all the way up. Heat vent defrost off. That's off and those are closed. Databases are indeed up to date. I just did all of that. ATIS AWAS received. Altimeter is set 3051. Got the ATIS avionics programmed. We're just staying at San Marcos, so nothing to do there. Fuel totalizer, 27.4 gallons. And our gas gauge and what I saw on the dipstick agree. We're squawking 1200 VFR. ADS-B Sirius XM is connected. Radios, tests, received. They are working. We're about to talk to ground, taxi light is on, and the brakes roll test. Good, and then during taxi, we're just going to check all the instruments while we're moving. Pre-taxi checklist is complete.
Number 787 Echo Papa, you cleared to the Centennial Airport, radar vectors direct. On departure, fly heading 360, climb maintain 3000. Expect flight level 45010 minutes after departure.
If you've been away from flying for any extended time, it can feel like there's a lot of currency items to check off in order for you to be legal to fly again. I know there are other instances and scenarios that I'm not going to dive into right here, so be familiar with the regulations that apply to your situation. For now, I'm going to cover my situation that pertains to my ratings and certificates: fixed wing, airplane, single engine land, and the instrument rating. Of course, I have the flight instructor certificate as well, but that is a topic in and of itself that honestly deserves its entire own video. I keep up with my currency there, and under 14 CFR 61197 B23, I'm a current flight instructor. But let's talk about getting current for your own personal flying. First, you need to make sure you're medically qualified to fly. This may mean your medical certificate is current or you've honored your obligations to basic med. And light sport, of course, does not require a dedicated medical certificate. Know the requirements for your particular medical situation and make sure you're covered. I medically qualify under 14 CFR 61.23. I renewed my second class medical certificate back in August, so I'm good for another year and a half, or 4.5 years if I'm not going to use those second class privileges. Second, you're going to need a current flight review in your logbook within the preceding 24 calendar months at a minimum, or past a check ride in that same time frame. This is according to 14 CFR 61.56. There are several different ways you can comply with this requirement according to the reg, and in my case, I passed a practical exam with an examiner in May of 2023, so I'm technically covered on this requirement until May of 2025. But while it technically hasn't been considered flight reviews, I've done a lot of flying with other CFIs ever since then, so I've had good refreshers with other flight instructors to check my flying in the meantime. Flying with an instructor every 24 calendar months is a bare minimum. You should be more than a bare minimum type of aviator. So with a current medical status and flight review, you are legal to fly again. But that does not mean you are legal to act as pilot in command with anyone else on board. That also does not necessarily mean you are automatically legal to go fly in the clouds under an instrument flight plan if you're instrument rated. So let's break these categories down. 14 CFR 61.57 lays out the minimum recency of experience requirements to legally qualify to carry passengers or fly IFR. In a nutshell, within the preceding 90 days, you have to have done 3 takeoffs and landings in the same category and class of aircraft to be legal to carry passengers during the daytime. Now, to be legal to carry passengers at night, those 3 takeoffs and landings have to be performed in that category and class at night and to a full stop. Basically, they can't be touch and goes. And of course, if you're carrying passengers in a tailwheel, those landings have to be performed in a tailwheel aircraft. Now, what about flying IFR? In order for me to legally file and fly IFR, I must perform and log 6 instrument approaches, holding procedures and tasks, and intercepting and tracking courses within the preceding 6 calendar months. A relevant note here is if you've been out of your instrument currency for more than 6 months. The only way to get instrument current at that point is to get an instrument proficiency check done by a CFII or a flight examiner. You can't just go do approaches with a safety pilot at that point. My instrument currency expired in September, so I am not allowed to fly IFR until I get those approaches and procedures done. But I have until the end of February to get current with a safety pilot. Now, if I wait till March 1st or later, I will be in that territory where I can no longer do those approaches with a safety pilot to count toward my currency. I have to go get an IPC from a CFII or an examiner, which, albeit a little less convenient, that is not a bad thing. So with a valid medical certificate and a current flight review in my logbook, today is all about those recency of experience landings in 61.57. After the solo flight, if I don't feel uncomfortably rusty or crater any of the landings, I'm gonna take my cousin Shannon up for a cruise around the city to further get myself back into the groove of flying.
San Marcos ground, Skyhawk, November 80991.
Skyhawk 80991, San Marcos ground.
80991, Cessna 172 at the T-hangars. I'd like to taxi out to remain in the pattern with information, Juliet.
Skyhawk 991, runway 35, taxi, Alpha Charlie Fox, hold short of runway 31.
Alpha Charlie Fox, hold short of runway 31 to 35, 80991. Alright, Alpha Charlie Fox, hold short of runway 31. Going to 35. Oh man, I did miss home. My home airport. I began and ended many trips at this airport.
Number 7 Echo Papa, Roger, you clear to the Alpha Alpha Oscar Airport.
Don't want to start our run up until oil's at 100 degrees, which won't be too long. Back in the saddle, man. Been a long time since I've flown. I just had so much footage to capture, and Chelsea and I over the winter just got really busy with other projects. We did go fly with Sling to Canada and all that back in August and September, and then when we got back from that trip, that was the last time that I flew in an airplane or anything. That was the last time I flew. So now we're in late February and we're about to take the Skyhawk up to Kentucky, maybe do like a couple little upgrades to it while it's up there, but we're going to take some trips. So I'm going to go ahead and pull over here. Alright, oil is at 83 degrees. I'm going to line up with the windsock there. Just waiting on the oil to warm up. We are currently at 90 degrees. We want to get 100 degrees into the green. We're just pointing into the wind, letting the engine warm up. I guess I could have pointed away from the wind, maybe let it warm up a little faster. We can go ahead and start the run-up checklist. Brakes set and hold. I'm just going to hang on to them. The fuel selector is on both. Oops. Trim set for takeoff. Electric trim. Flight control is free and correct. Instruments calibrated and cross-checked. We got our heading indicator set, or heading bug set to runway heading. And altitude bug is set. Everything else looks good. Turn coordinator was doing its thing. Inclinometer was doing its thing on the taxi, so that's good. Mixture, let's set it for best power. Primer is in and locked. Next step is go to 1700. 98 degrees, that's good. Let's go throttle 1700. Check the carb heat. Carb temp's on the rise. RPM came down, and EGTs stayed right where they are. Magnetos, check right, 2 clicks. There's the right mag. Smooth drop, all 4 EGTs coming up. Back to both. 1 click, there's the left mag. Drop in RPM. Rise on all 4 EGTs. And back to both. Amps volts charging 13.6, that's good voltage. And amps are positive 6, so we're charging the battery. Oil pressure's in the green, oil temp's in the green. Idle check closed. Beautifully smooth idle, and the throttle friction lock adjust. Run up checklist complete. Pre-takeoff checklist. Flap set 0 degrees. Fixture set best power. Carb heat is off. Transponder squawking altitude VFR. Heading bug and altitude bug set. Initial altitude and heading. Not gonna dick with the autopilot mode controller. Doors and windows closed and latched. The time note. 2100 Zulu. Abort plan. If we're not off by runway 26, or even the 1,000-foot markers, if we're not off by the 1,000-foot markers, something's a little concerning. If we're not off by the intersection of runway 26, something is for sure wrong. We're going to chop the power, get on the brakes. Anything after that is an airborne engine emergency or an airborne emergency of some sort. And we're going to either put it down on a taxiway, runway, or a field, whatever we can do. Loved ones notify. I think it's very important that you keep your loved ones notified of your takeoffs and landings. Keep them posted. Parking brake is released, and landing lights and strobe will get those when we are ready for departure. Pre-takeoff checklist complete. I'm going to go full screen on the PFD. Alpha Charlie Fox, hold short of runway 31. We're probably going to make left traffic for runway 35, which I am cool with because that means our traffic patterns will be right over the airport. Right over this runway complex. I'm going to cut to the left here just a little bit to give ourselves some room. And I'm going to cut it to the right so I can see the final approach path. Push to tower, and that's all we're going to need. I'm ready to go. San Marcos Tower, Skyhawk, November 80 at 90901 is holding short of runway 31 on Foxtrot, ready for VFR departure 35, staying in the pattern.
Skyhawk 80 901 San Marcos Tower, cross runway 31, runway 35, clear takeoff, make left traffic.
Make left traffic, cross runway 31, runway 35, clear for takeoff, 80991. Alright, windows, doors, mixture, and lights. Landing light, strobes. We are lit up, thanks to all the wheeling LEDs. I love these wingtip landing lights. This plane looks so cool, all lit up like this. I didn't see anybody on final. Alright, we're taking the center line, heels down to the floor. Ready to abort the takeoff if we have to. Takeoff power set. Airspeed's alive. We're already at 55 knots. There's 60 knots. And we're making left close traffic. We can pitch up, up, up. Almost forget the deck angle of this airplane. We're climbing at 1,500 feet a minute. Wow. We're still doing 90 knots. We can still bring the nose up. Alright, let's go ahead and turn left crosswind. We're about to level off. Wow, the climb performance. I am at about half tanks. A little more than half tanks. Alright, there's pattern altitude. Get a glimpse of the runway. Let's cut up the middle of the airport here. A little bit of turbulence. Bring the power back a little bit. We are high. He just wants to keep climbing. That tower 80991 has been filled left down on runway 35, looking for a touch and go.
Skyhawk 991, runway 35, clear for the option.
Clear for the option, 35, 80991. Alright, to be in the touchdown point, let's bring the throttle back to 1700. We're going to hold this pitch attitude. Let the airspeed come down into the wide arc so that we can drop the first notch of flaps. There's 90, we're looking for 85. There's 85. 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000. Flaps set 10 degrees. The reason I count is because I have to hold down the switch. This is an older model that has what's called full range flaps. It doesn't have a detent switch. I actually have to hold down the switch until the flaps are where I want them and then let it go. Same for coming up. Some of the switches have a detent where it can lock it in the up position, but we're cleared for the option and we run through our guns check. Gas undercarriage, mixture power, seat belts, lights are on. 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, flaps 20, finals clear, let's turn. 75 knots, a little bit of a wide pattern.
500.
500 AGL. Wind was a little bit gusty, so I don't think I'm going to use more than 20 degrees of flaps. I think we're actually about 25. So I feel pretty good here. We're at 70 knots. We're plenty high. I'm going to bring the airplane or the engine to idle. Give it a little bit of trim. And we might be floating a little bit. We're going to need a little bit of a side slip in the flare because of the crosswind. Give it some left rudder, a little balloon. Hold it in the round out, the flare. Beautiful landing. There's the right, there's the left, and there's the nose. Flaps coming up. There's 60 knots already. Crosswind. Put some nose down, pitch trim, and let's pitch for VY. Let's just let this thing climb.
Kilos, Trans Marcus, to the altimeter 3046.
3046, set. It's 1,400 feet. Let's go ahead and turn crosswind. And in this airplane with the climb performance,
clear for the RNAV 35.
really I like getting here to crosswind, and that's when I'm leveling off. Be a little more proactive about leveling off. Roll level, get a glimpse of the runway, and then I just immediately roll into the downwind.
Roger, report the final approach fix. Okay. And when able, can I get a basis report, sir?
Yeah, they were about 3,500, and I picked up icing coming down through that. Just got through with the icing.
Roger that.
Alright, we're on the downwind. San Marcos Tower, Skyhawk 80, Nunner 1, midfield, left downwind 35, looking for touch and go.
Skyhawk 991, runway 35, clear touch and go, you number 1. You'll be turning inside of a Honda Jet at about a 7.5 mile final.
Clear touch and go, number 1, runway 35, 80, 991.
Honda Jet 1 Tango 0, you'll be number 2, your traffic is assessed and approaching left base for a touch and go.
1 Tango, sir.
Alright, I see them on ADSB, they're outside of the delta. I allowed myself to climb on downwind there again. That's no good. Try to keep this one a little bit shorter. Bring it to idle. Hold that pitch attitude in the wide arc. 1,1000, 2,1000, 3,1000. Flap set 10 degrees. Let the nose come down. Let's go.
Sir, cross the final approach 6 now.
Turn base. Keeping it coordinated. Need a little bit of left rudder in this turn to keep the ball centered, but we don't want to give it too much left rudder because that would be a skid. And that's asking for a stall spin accident.
Your traffic's on the left base.
Leaving altitude.
Honda Jet 1 Tango 0, you can slow your approach.
Did you say cancel approach for 1 Tango, sir?
Yes, sir, slow your approach.
Slow the approach, but you're on 1 Tango, sir.
500.
500 AGL. Got a Honda Jet behind us. Kind of making it a short approach, not squaring off the base to final, just so I'm not taking my time with this guy. About a 3-mile final back there. Power to idle. Coming over the threshold, let's bring it into the round out. A little bit of a side slip, but not much. Ooh, that was about as smooth as it could be. Flaps coming up. Power's to full. Bringing that nose way up. That was successful landing number 2. Honda Jet's probably about to come over the numbers right now.
Citation 878, Echo Papa San Marcos, correction 787, Echo Papa San Marcos, ground runway 35, taxi, Alpha Charlie Fox, hold short of runway 31. Honda Jet 1 Tango, sir, when able, make a 180 on the runway, then turn right runway 26.
180 to 26, right on 2612, sir, thanks.
Pattern altitude. Roll the power back.
You going to your hangar, Tom, or you going to the FBO?
Hangar, thanks.
Roger.
Maintain 1600 here. San Marcos Tower, Skyhawk 80, Nunner 1, midfield left downwind 35, request touch and go.
Skyhawk 991, runway 35, clear touch and go, wind 02010.
35, clear touch and go, 80, Nunner 1. Okay. Gas, undercarriage, mixture power, seat belts. Power's coming back.
Honda Jet 1 Tango, sir, left onto runway 13, right at Echo.
1,1000,
13, right
2,1000, 3,1000. Lap set 10. Keep that nose down and bring it into a left turn. Keeping it coordinated. Cleared, touch and go.
500.
500 AGL.
1 Tango, sir, give way to the citation and you taxi park this frequency.
We'll give way to the citation when I see 1 Tango, sir.
Flaps 20. And we got flaps 30. Feel like we have a little bit more of a crosswind this time. Carrying a little extra energy. Let's put it into the side slip. And the round out, flare, a little bounce. Saved it.
You're welcome, Tom. Have a great evening, sir.
You too, FUV.
Knots. Alright, let's bring it around for a full stop landing on this one.
And tower citation 787 Echo Papa, hold in short of 31.
Citation 787, Echo Papa San Marcos Tower, cross runway 31. Runway 35, clear for takeoff, flight heading 360.
Cross 3135, heading 360, clear for takeoff, 7 Echo Papa.
1600. San Marcos Tower, Skyhawk 809901, midfield left downwind 35, request full stop.
Skyhawk 991, runway 35, clear to land, wind 020 at 11.
Clear to land, runway 35, 809901.
Citation 7 Echo Papa, contact goes to departure.
For departure, have a good one, 7 Echo Papa.
You do the same, sir.
Alright, let's do a power off 180 here. We're going to lose energy in the turn, but this airplane does glide reasonably well. Hell of a lot better than a Piper. One 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, flaps 10. Again, I'm not squaring off my base to final because I'm doing a power off approach.
500.
500 AGL. Aiming for those 1,000-foot markers. I've not done this in a very long time, so let's see how this goes. We're right on best glide. 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, flaps set 20. Go full flaps. Got all the barn doors out. That might even make me come up short. Let it come down. Flare coming in for a full stall. Came up short of the touchdown zone, but smooth.
Skyhawk 991, left turn 26, cross 31, Bravo Alpha to park.
Left 26, cross 31, and did you say Bravo to park, 80991?
Hey, from Bravo Alpha to park.
Bravo Alpha to park, 80991, thanks.
You're welcome, Josh.
Appreciate it, Andre. Good to be back.
I'm officially current to carry passengers once again in airplane single engine land, day only. I'll get night current in the coming days before Chelsea and I set off toward Kentucky. But since I really try to avoid night flight in a single engine airplane anyways, I'm not super pressed for time to get that done. But I do like maintaining night currency just in case a flight goes a little bit long and unexpectedly dips into darkness or something like that. It felt good to get back in the saddle, and I honestly felt right at home in 80991. You may feel the same confidence if you get back in the cockpit after a while, but don't let that sense of familiarity fool you into thinking that you're no longer rusty. Your rustiness is not likely to show itself doing simple pattern work in a familiar plane and a familiar airport. It's the unexpected and less familiar situations that will boldly remind you how rusty you really are. So if you're getting back into the cockpit after a stint of not flying, take it easy on yourself. And if it's been a significant amount of time since you've flown, bring an instructor with you for the first flight or two. It'll take a few flight hours to work your way back to true proficiency, so ease yourself back into it little by little. That's exactly what we're gonna do on this flight. My cousin Shannon is in town for a few days, and she's actually here to do some part-time customer service work for Flying Eyes Optics, which is headquartered here in Buda, Texas. I'm wearing the Osprey frames here, which are different from the Otis frames I normally wear that have my prescription and magnetic clip-on shades. I'm wearing contacts today, so these are just my regular sunglasses with the mirrored green lenses. And Shannon is wearing a pair of the Ninox frames in the honey brown color with a gradient gray lens. And the Ninox are also one of the frames that can have magnetic clip-on shades, perfect for using them as prescription glasses, which is exactly what Chelsea normally wears. Flying Eyes has been a sponsor of the content here on Aviation 101 since 2018, and I'm honored to be supported by a company that's truly innovating and solving problems in the eyewear industry. They're super lightweight, incredibly strong, and the signature thin and flexible temples slide right under a headset or helmet without breaking the seal of your noise-canceling headset. If you want to upgrade your eyewear today, you can use code AVIATION101 at checkout for 10% off your order from Flying Eyes Optics.
San Marcos Tower, Skyhawk, November 80991 is holding short of runway 31 at Foxtrot, ready for VFR departure 35.
November 80991, San Marcos Tower, cross runway 31, runway 35, good for takeoff.
cross runway 31, runway 35, clear for takeoff, 809991. Alright, windows mixture and lights. This is actually a hot spot at this airport on the taxi diagram because it's kind of confusing. You got runway 31, you got runway 35, and then a taxiway sort of intersecting in here.
Oh wow, yeah, that is confusing.
You don't want to accidentally line up on that runway. You want this runway.
Oh, I don't like that.
They closed a taxiway over there because it was confusing like that.
Yeah.
Alright. This is 35, heels down to the floor, ready to go?
Yep.
Let's go. Off the brakes. Takeoff power set. There's 2300 RPM, 50 knots. Everything feels normal, there's 60. You're welcome to do some flying if you want.
Okay.
Let me kind of get it trimmed out here for you. Or you can get it trimmed out if you want.
You got it.
Alright, I still got the controls. I'm gonna just lean it. Alright, yeah, so we're maintaining about 2500-ish. It's bugged right there. Kind of aiming for that big white building. And then get across the interstate, and we'll follow the interstate to downtown. So, your flight controls whenever you're ready.
Okay, my control.
Alright, you got the controls.
Shannon actually has a bit of flight time logged with other flight instructors, so it only makes sense to exchange controls over to her and aim the nose for a good view of the skyline of Austin, Texas.
Traffic, you're heading your right 4 miles southbound, the RNS Zulu 36 left, to the southwest 73 out of 4,800.
Looking, negative contact, 991.
They should pop out about 3,500.
Roger.
Circling downtown in 80991 brings back a lot of memories. There are a lot of lines in my pilot logbook that contain this exact flight in the remarks. In all the places and directions life unexpectedly takes us, it's good to ground yourself every now and then in where you came from and where your journey started. On this simple flight, getting back to basics, I couldn't help but think about this poem that landed in my inbox by one of my YouTube followers named Gerald Torres. It felt so relevant, not only because I'm a bit of a rusty pilot myself now after not having flown for 6 months, but mainly because it vividly embodied my father's flying story. He stopped flying when I was about 3 years old because life got in the way, and he didn't touch an airplane again for 14 years, only after I was a teenager and already had my private pilot certificate. I felt like that story was so relatable to so many aviators across general aviation. So this is The Rusty Pilot's Lament by Gerald Torres. You scrape and save every penny while yearning to fly, on a blue-collar wage that you're barely getting by. Oh, to skim the Shirley bonds so fancy-free, this can't be true that it's happening to me. You study and learn airspace, whiz wheels, VORs, and E6Bs, while you focus on performance charts and center of gravity. Your instructor reminds you Wilbur and Orville from past ages. They, quote, looked outside and didn't need no stinking gauges. Off you go on your first solo, which becomes one of your greatest days. As you pinch yourself, this plane feels lighter, especially today. Freedom to fly is freedom indeed, but the Hobbs meter decides how far you'll proceed. Check ride past, this is a dream come true. Ask the instructor who really believed in you. Raising a family comes first, and the flying stops all too soon. As I shout with a promise, quote, I'll be back, maybe, hopefully by June. Time flies when you're not flying anytime soon, as I dream about flying on a cool afternoon. My kids heard my stories of when I used to fly. They asked, Daddy, what made you stop and why? My desire to one day fly will never waver or wane. When I spot a plane overhead, I still feel the pain. Wife and kids are older and money is still tight for me, but one day when I pass on to heaven, it will be free. But for now, I'm a rusty pilot, you see.
One, left 26, cross 31, taxi Bravo Park.
Left on 26, cross 31, Bravo Alpha to parking, 80991, thank you.
Speaking of flying with my dad, in the next episode, we're knocking out a flight review for him. But my flight reviews are not the typical 1 hour ground, 1 hour flight checkbox. box. As a flight instructor in the industry, I really want to bring the culture of importance around recurrent training from the airlines and apply that same culture to general aviation. As general aviation currently sits, we don't take recurrent training seriously enough. We see it as a burdensome checkbox. All the while, we have pilots flying around who have not practiced an engine out or a systems failure in IMC in many, many years. Especially now that I'm in the shoes of coming back from a rusty status. It's a perfect opportunity for me to put my money where my mouth is and be honest with myself about my lack of proficiency and take seriously the steps I should take to reach true proficiency again. We as pilots and as flight instructors hold a responsibility to do better, and we're gonna cover my deep thoughts on that in the next video. Until then, you know the drill. I want you to stay happy and healthy, stay current in your flying, but most importantly, stay proficient. You owe that to your passengers and to your family. We'll see you in the next video right here on Aviation 101. Fly safe.